Welcome back, travelers, to Legendary Lore.
We're still too cheap to pay for Zoom.
You're not wrong. You're not entirely wrong. Today we're going to continue our Legendary Lore series by talking about Dominaria. Specifically, the single episode that includes Liliana. They made a single story just so they could have Liliana the Veil in the set. Which is kind of ridiculous.
So she's not part of our actual main story.
No, she shows up in just this story that is Liliana-centric, has some really good revelations, but at the same time points out the fact that she doesn't have the veil anymore. It was destroyed in War of the Spark. But in her artwork, it shows that the veil is in her in her reflection, watching her. This is the new veil artwork, meaning that the veil is a part of her. She's haunted by it, but she's not hearing the voices. And we also find out who the actual voices are, the voice in her head is, which is awesome. So we'll do that now.
And somebody important has a card here.
Yes.
Finally.
Yes.
Well, not finally. You guys will see. Ricky told me about this one beforehand. Other than that, I'm completely blind to the story because I wanted to stay blind. But
yes.
One little tidbit Ricky told me.
Yes, I gave Joe just a little tidbit. So basically, in this story, we have Liliana. She's a teacher. And it's, as a teacher, I identify with certain aspects of her character much more.
The fact that she wants to take a leave of absence? Is that the most identifiable? Is that the most identifiable part of being a teacher?
It says she was happy enough during the days, but she was helping to shape young minds, molding them with her words. Given time, she could guide them away from the countless mistakes she'd both seen and made during her own youth. When power had seemed limitless and consequences were, while unavoidable, had always been something she could put off for another day.
She seems so mature now.
Yeah. But then it just talks about how she's been grading a lot of essays, and they're not quite up to the standard she expects.
Is Liliana an English teacher? She's a necromancy teacher.
Yeah, she's a necromancer. So inherently, because it's magic based, she most likely does have a lot of experience with actual books and working along those lines.
So write a report on this necromancy book.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, she wrote her own necromancy book that she destroyed at the end of the whole Strixhaven storyline. Mm-hmm. But anyways, she's in her bedroom, she's trying to sleep when the Raven Man appears, and she's like, "Oh snip, it's the Raven Man," and he basically turns into the ravens after he taunts her a little bit, and then he disappears through the window. She wakes up and she's like, "Oh good, it was a nightmare." And then she walks over to the window and she realizes the floor is wet. Because the Raven Man actually was there and actually did knock over her teacup, and she might actually be losing her entire mind. Basically, she goes where the Raven Man tells her to, which is Dominaria, back to the Vess estate, back to her home. And while she's there...
Isn't that where we killed fake Liliana Vess?
Yes.
Okay, so this should be interesting.
So, this is also where you had the whole thing with Josu happen. And basically, Liliana gets here and she's kind of just wandering around and feeling out the area around her. She knows that there's an artifact somewhere deep within all this happening. By the way, it's important to know at this point she already knows who it is. It's in her brain because she went to the Biblioplex and she actually found books on old Dominarian lore. And she looked as hard as she could.
I wonder if mages have a Google ability. Just okay, I'm in with all this knowledge. Raven Man. Book just flies to her. Oh, cool.
Ah, book on ravens. This is not what I wanted. No, but basically
Raven Man. Second result. Ooh.
DC is weird. Okay. So basically what winds up happening is that by in the Biblioplex, she finds out that this is actually Lim-Dul. Lim-Dul is actually a character from a really, really old Ice Age stories. He worked with characters such as Leshrac.
Is he the one that puts the acorn in the thing and splits the world in half?
That's Scrat.
I like those Ice Age stories better.
So, basically, there's a guy named Mersil. Mersil was from a really long time ago. He actually has a card, Mersil. Okay. But his ring, it was imbued
the Pretender.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was imbued with his soul. So when Mersil died, Lim-Dul eventually found it, and he was combined with it and enthralled by it, and their souls kind of mingled together. Later on, Jaya also picked up the ring and was possessed by the Mersil Lim-Dul hybrid until Joda smashed a mirror on her face. And then she got better, and her spark ignites, and now we have Jaya as she is. But Limdul.
That's how we're speaking. Just imagine. Did you just smash a mirror on me? Yeah, you were. I'm out.
It was an important mirror. It was a very magical artifact that actually mattered. But yeah, basically, after that happens, Limdul comes up and leaves the ring in under the Vess estate. One of the people he possesses leaves the ring there. And so it's basically been sinking into the bog this entire time. And now it's been calling to Liliana this entire time.
Like, hey, dig me up.
Yeah, because Limdul, who's now the dominant personality, Marisol isn't even mentioned in the story. Limdul knows that Liliana had a spark. He knew whenever she was small. So what he did is he basically tried to groom her to be prepared to become his next vessel. Because that would mean Limdul would have a planeswalker's soul. That would give him incredible power, because he was never a planeswalker. So that's the basic idea. But while she's here, she feels this weird dark knot. Like, it's not even, because she describes like life and death as a natural occurrence. And what she feels out in the swamp is unnatural death, unnatural life commingling together.
Wither blue.
No, because that's all natural.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna cut in with it when you said dead natural life and death, and then I was like, no, I'll wait for him to finish. Well, it's not relevant anymore, but I'll just say it.
Well,
That's a really awkward point in a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Except I'm the one that decides to say it anyway.
So, essentially, she runs into a core Phyrexian. Now, that card hasn't been revealed yet, but she is going to be there. We just seen her art. It's this character. You'll be able to put that up. By the time this video comes out, she'll already have her card out, I'm sure. So, basically, this happens. This core is here and kind of explains to her that she's here specifically to find an artifact. She tells Liliana that. And Liliana obviously is like, what? And so basically it turns out that at the same time they're looking for this artifact, they also want the power and soul attached to the artifact. The Phyrexians are looking for it. And they basically tell Liliana, hey, how about this? You tell us where the ring is, we'll take away the thing haunting you. And then you can join us. Because you're a planeswalker, and you'd be great to bring in. It would look great on my resume. And so Liliana obviously is like, forget that. No, you're absolutely insane. Why are there Phyrexians here? That's not a thing that should be happening. And so she basically fights off all of this stuff happening. She runs towards her home, essentially, where she has a very strong mana bond. And she gets over the ring, and she reaches into the power of the Limdul's ring. The problem with doing that is that means Limdul has access to your mind and can now hijack her.
But she's not a vehicle.
So, all of that happens. And she essentially uses Limdul's power, but because of how strong Liliana has become, both just by her willpower and general strength in magic, she is actually able to use Limdul's magic, use him as a conduit essentially, and is not taken in by his spirit. She's not able to get the full amount of him, but she's channeled the Chain Veil before. This is nothing in comparison.
Like, I stopped your magic. How? Your magic.
Yeah, pretty much. And so she's actually able to hijack, again, these Phyrexian monstrosities that the core has sent at her.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's actually insane. And so, basically, as this goes on, also the name of the core is Elas Il Core. So it's an ill, by having the word ill added to it, that means it's actually from Wrath. Because the core, because you may, you will recall, we haven't covered it, I don't believe, but in the Stronghold and in Wrath and everything, they didn't have any natural entities, so they would actually use soul traps to steal people and bring them to the plane. And the core from Zendikar, they wound up getting ported over, and then after the overlay, the core wound up on Dominaria as a result. So an ill core is someone who had sided with the Phyrexians in the original invasion, and so this is just a descendant of that, Elas Il Core. That said, Elas does not get killed. They are left basically frustrated because after Liliana scares them away, she then takes the ring that's been buried underneath and she tells essentially every corpse that's along the way down to push it further into the muck. And so just imagine that of like just corpse hands kind of in the dirt going like that, grabbing the ring, putting it down to the next hand, and just continuously going down and doing that. That's basically what she
Shall I hold
does.
that for you, sir?
Yeah, pretty much. Can I take your head, sir? So basically, Liliana does all of that. Limdul is pleased because she did tap into power. That means that she will come back. He knows that she'll come back and that she will become his vessel. And that's how that story essentially ends, with her leaving.
Bikini Bottom.
Yeah. She leaves the estate, and she knows that the Phyrexians are not like, it's not a good thing that the Phyrexians are around. But basically, it says right here, finally she released the Phyrexians to fall on Twitch, then gathered what magic yet slept within her, and stepped into the blind eternities, vanishing in a swirl of blackness. She would return soon enough to cleanse her land and protect what she had buried here. She only hoped it wouldn't be to find the dead had turned against her. So she just knows that she needs to go back to Arcavios and Sedgemoor and just kind of recuperate. That's how her story ends. She literally just pops in, has a fight with a few Phyrexians, buries Limdul's ring. It's mainly just the revelation of Limdul. So it's a way to both print Ravenman and Liliana the Veil in a set where neither of them are actually relevant at all.
That's annoying.
It's not the best.
That could have been a core set thing.
Yeah, exactly. But it
should have been a core set thing.
I mean, it's Liliana. It's definitely a core set thing. There you go.
Either way, that was interesting enough.
Yeah.
And Liliana knows about them now, so some more Strixhavens might be in on the eventual Phyrexian War. I'll put the timeline of that there. We saw a timeline of what's going to happen in Magic. It's going to be so cool.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. We're finally going back to my home.
Oh, that's true. Eldraine.
No.
Yeah, my home plane would be Dominaria, since that's when I started in Time Spiral, which is technically probably one of the worst times to have started playing Magic.
I always thought you started in Zendikar.
The thing is that was when I really started playing. Like, I started building my own decks in Zendikar.
Ah.
That I learned during Time Spiral.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started playing during Scars of Mirrodin. In New Phyrexia.
Yeah. That's a healthy home.
I mean, it explains a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to go ahead and catch you guys next time with the actual story of Dominaria United. Don't miss it. Leave a like if you like the video. Subscribe. And I would hit Ricky, but I did before the video, so we can't do that anymore.
My arm is bruised.